Yeah, legends, welcome to the Pot Noodle on Celtic Down Under. I'm your host, Jared, and joining me tonight is Shane. How you going, Shane?
Good to be with you, mate. Yes, doing well. Doing well. Everything outside of Celtic's doing well.
Fair enough. That's what we like. G'day to Michael Ross in the comments. Hail, my upside down chums. Haven't seen that one in a while. Loving it. Brilliant. Yeah, doing well. Hope you're doing well as well. Everyone who tuning in. Yeah, not the. This is this isn't the sort of fun times to do pods, is it, Shane? This is really taking me back. Picture this, it's the 2020-ish season. Neil Lennon's in charge, and I'm feeling exactly the same way right now, in this exact moment. Not ideal. Not the greatest time to be a Celtic fan, let's be honest, but, there's always one positive, Shane, isn't there? And what is it? We're not Rangers fans.
It's funny. It does have a lot of that feel about 2020 about it. Going back to when I was a listener and not actually a contributor. So that's how far ago that removed that was. But there is a sense of that kind of, and you mentioned this a few weeks ago, and it's always stuck with me, that kind of whole vibe through the season of, yeah, we're behind, but we've got to play Rangers three times. If we just win those three games, we'll be level on points, or if we just beat them a couple of times, and that, not inevitability, but that feeling of it's going to turn, it's going to turn, it's going to happen. And on last week's pod, what did I say to you about the Killy result and the Arojo goal? Is like, well, this is going to be the kind of thing that galvanizes this team and pushes them forward. And on based of what we've seen against Stuttgart and then at home to Hibs, it couldn't have been further away from that, unfortunately. So I'm getting that similar vibe. The only difference is that it's a much tighter race, and the window, if we are still in it. Like, we're nowhere near as far out of it as we was back in that COVID season. We can definitely turn it around. The question isn't on whether their Hearts and Rangers are out of sight. It's more, can we actually make it happen ourselves? That remains to be seen.
Well, on that, Shane, like back then, it was a two-horse race, let's be honest, and Rangers were miles ahead of us. And you look at it now, we lose, the Huns draw, and there's still a third team pulling further ahead than both of us in Hearts. Like, that's the spanner in the works this time around. That actually means that there's actually less room. There's actually less room to muck around because it's not just games against the Huns that we've got coming up that we've got to get the business done in. There's games against Hearts as well. But those games are all irrelevant at the end of the day if we can't get the job done against the other domestic teams. And realistically, I think there's a clear separation of like, and we'll get into this now, and then we'll get into the Hibs game. But the way I see that positioning at the moment, and we spoke about this off air probably a couple of months ago when Wilfred Nancy was appointed, and we're absolutely ripping the arse out of ourselves, right? Is that are we? Where do you see us positioning in terms of the best team in Scotland this season? Realistically, it's Hearts at the moment, but on current form, it's Motherwell. And then you've got Rangers who actually did strengthen from a position. They brought players in, and then they actually strengthened again, but we didn't spend a cent. So are we the second best team in Scotland, the third best team in Scotland? Are we the fourth? Because as far as I'm concerned at the moment, purely on terms of players in the squad, if everyone was in form across the league, we should be a lot higher. We should be at least second or first, right? But are we? I see us as probably the fourth best team on current form in Scotland at the moment. And that's bloody confronting because there's no guaranteed. If we don't win the cup, like the Scottish Cup, if we don't win the league and we don't win the Scottish Cup, where do we end up next season for Europe?
It's a frightening prospect, but you're right. And you can't get this far into a season, the season we've had, and pretend we are anything but where we are on the table. Now, could be and should be a whole different discussion to what the reality is. I agree with you. This list, this group of players and what we have should be doing a lot better, and we should be getting a better response and haven't lost anywhere near the amount of games that we have, right? But the simple fact is we haven't been good enough, and we find ourselves in third. And as you said, Motherwell are very much closing in, and we could easily not only be the fourth best team in Scotland on form, but actually in reality, if we're not careful in the next couple of weeks. So the simple fact is we've very badly underperformed, and we find ourselves in this position because of a number of factors, but no less, we're not getting the results on the park. And the Hibs game, which we'll talk about later, just felt like a real kick in the teeth after what we saw against Killy, and just followed along midweek with Stuttgart. But yeah, we are where we are. That's a simple reality. I know it seems like a captain obvious statement, but we can't keep saying that. Like, I expect the wheel to keep turning, but how far down this line do you go before it becomes a reality that we're simply not going to make it happen? I don't know. It's a confronting prospect.
I'm just having a look at some lineups while you were talking there, Shane. Just going back to something. So Martin O'Neill's first game back was a 4-0 against Dundee United, right? On the 11th of Jan. Now, if we go from there, I'm just trying to get the rest of the games up on my phone because it just decides to be funny when we're doing this. But realistically, if you're going through those games since then, we haven't really blown many teams out. Like, we had that 4-0 against Dundee United, then it was 1-0 against Falkirk, 2-0 against Auchinleck Talbot, 2-all against Bologna, right? 2-all against Hearts, 4-2 against Utrecht, 2-0 against Falkirk, 2-1 against Dundee, 2-1 against Livingston, 3-2 against Killy, and then we get pumped 4-1 by Stuttgart. Then we lose 2-1. So if we're being honest, we're winning all those games under Martin, but were we lucky in some games? There's a couple of late winners there. Were we lucky? Did we butcher? There's some games we should have won by a lot more and we didn't. But I just look at it and go, this stint right now, this doesn't surprise me. And the reason is we're saying the players should be better, but the old saying is that if someone's shit for 2 managers, 3 managers, 4 managers, then it's clearly not one player and one manager. And I look at it and go, we all said this about Balakwisha at the start of the season. Oh, maybe he just doesn't suit the way Brendan wants to play. So he left. Martin come in. He did nothing under him. Then Nancy comes in. He does nothing there. Now Martin's back. He's still done nothing. So that means he's a nothing player, as an empty jersey. Rio's the same this season. Dazen has struggled this season. Jamesy Forrest, his legs are gone. Let's be honest. Colin McGregor, I don't even see him on the pitch half the time. We play around our midfield because of him. Like, I'm not throwing players specifically under the bus. I'm just using them as examples. They're the first one that come to my head. Trusty's one that some games he looks great, other games he looks absolutely rubbish. And he's playing out of position on the right side when he's naturally a left-sided centre-back. So it should be him and Scales battling for a top. So realistically, it's the team we've got. It's kind of funny because the strongest positions we actually have are our fullback positions. Everything else on the park, we could upgrade.
Well, I think just to touch on your point, I lent very much into the fact that we were getting results and probably looked at that and thought things were a bit more rosier than what they actually were. Having you go through the results, just like you did before, it's clear that obviously, well, two things stood out. A, there were a couple of games that, yeah, we probably got lucky to actually take all 3 points. But two, we don't keep a clean sheet either. That was the other thing that stood out when you ran through that list of results. You're right. We are getting lucky, and I thought that maybe just the fact that it was the fact that we were winning suggested that we're actually on the upward trajectory again. But the Hibs game definitely made me look at this in a little bit of a different light and say, well, no, actually, we probably just got lucky and we're not playing at the level we need to. And that's just the sad reality of where we find ourselves.
Well, let's be honest, Shane. We've just had Hibs off the back of playing Stuttgart. in the Europa League, right? Now, our next 5 games: Stuttgart away, Rangers away, Aberdeen away, Rangers away, Motherwell at home. Current form, maybe Aberdeen. We pick up all 3 in. That's about it. I'm not throwing the toys out with the pram. I'm being realistic here. I'm just really not enjoying watching this Celtic team play, and it's not because we're losing. Or that there's a challenge going on. It's the way we're playing. It's the players. They just don't seem to give a shit. Some of them, and comparing their levels now to what we've seen them do in that green and white hooped jersey in the past, like the fall off from guys I read off, like Hatate and Maeda in particular, it's it's disappointing. But they've got to think with they're professional footballers. You're getting paid to kick a ball around. It's a kid's game at the end of the day. You grow up as a kid playing this sport because you just love having fun doing it. Then you get to the professional level, it's your career. So you're making a career out of a kid's game. That's the way I look at it. They only started because of that. So they got to pull their heads in.
The optimist in me, when you've just run through our upcoming fixture, the optimist in me sees us winning all of those games. And then I look at it and go, well, we go to Aberdeen. Well, not Stuttgart. Let me clarify that. Not Stuttgart. Stuttgart away is done. We're not winning that. But in terms of domestically, definitely we can win at Pittodrie, and we should be winning Pittodrie. But if we go and beat Rangers twice within the space of 7 days, I think that gives us a mental edge over them and probably derails them, in all honesty, right? I think that's going to be difficult for them to overcome. Then we beat Motherwell, who have been, as you said, arguably the form team domestically in the top flight, right? Outside of Hearts. So then if we beat Motherwell, all of a sudden we've taken 9 points from 9 league games. We're right back in it, and we've taken 3 points off or 6 points off 2 of our closest rivals, both second and fourth. So all of a sudden, there's some optimism there. But on current form, the way we're playing, I can't even see us confidently going to Pittodrie and getting a result, let alone actually going to Ibrox twice in the space of 7 days, both in the league and cup, and getting a win.
Now, I'm just going to go on the record here. I'm not saying we're not going to win those games, okay? Just making sure we're all aware of it. I'm playing devil's advocate here, deliberately playing the negative because I know Shane's like always saying on the bright side and trying to be the positive guy that we're going to win them all. If I was on with, you know, I don't know, someone else, let's be honest. I don't want to name names, Jared. But if I was on with, or Dan, if I was on with one of those two, that'd probably be the one, playing the bad side of it. Not I'd be the positive one here. The way I'm looking at it is, I just think it's going to be tough for us, and I'm not really liking the way we're playing. But what we'll do is I'll get some comments up, Shane, and then we'll just get into it a little bit more. So now we're past the 5 minutes. I can read this. Robert Gibson, Shane ripped his beard off.
I did. I wouldn't say I ripped it off. It was a much more comfortable shave than actually tearing it off, but I did.
Michael Ross, our club is rotting from the inside. Only removing this board will change things. Robert Gibson saying this race is tighter than a duck's ass.
I have to take your word for it, Robert.
100% will do that. Michael saying the league does not lie. Andrew Galea is saying it's still in our hands. Got to win the next 3, otherwise we'll have Motherwell on our tail.
He's not wrong.
And that's the thing, Shane. Like, let's be honest. Go through those games again. Stuttgart, like as you said, and we've said on the pod a couple of weeks back, like if we go to Ibrox back-to-back weekends and win them both, they'll implode. And that basically rules them out of the race. And then it becomes us chasing Hearts, right? So, and we'll have a bit of form. But if we go to Stuttgart and get absolutely thumped, like the only way for us to progress realistically over there is we win. If we win 4-0, right? That gets the aggregate at what? 5-all. So we need to win, what is it, 5-0?
Or 6-1.
Or 6-1 if we want to progress. Not gonna happen.
I mean, but when you put it that way, if you want to be positive, no, I'm only joking.
An easy hat trick in the first half for Kenchvara, and then the second half, Rahal, Scales, and Trusty will score. Trusty will get the winner in the 94th minute or something like that. Get the last goal just to, get back in all our good graces. There you go. But like, just looking at it on that front, if you get past that and you don't get absolutely thumped over in Germany, then you come to Ibrox and you do them, and then you go up to Aberdeen and you do them. Then you get to a cup game, you knock them out so they can't win a trophy, and what happens? Suddenly we're all in a hell of a lot different spot. But if the results go the other way and we lose the derby and then we get knocked out of the cup and we are going to be struggling to win a trophy, that's where the pod title comes from. That's where we're going to be seeing getting all the tarps out again, because you'll be lucky to get 25,000-30,000 at Celtic Park for most games after that. People are going to stop coming. Like, when I was just watching the highlights again before I got jumped on the pod, I'm looking at it going, oh yeah, okay. There's a crowd there. Then they score to go 2-1 up. And then next thing you know, where's the crowd gone?
Yeah, there was a sense of inevitability that
Yeah.
we were down to 10. We were never going to equalise.
Yep. So I'm just going to go through some more comments here. So Robert Gibson saying we've been shite all season. It's like the board have discovered methamphetamine and just said, fuck the football. Michael Ross is saying, I'm beginning to blame fans for putting up with his board. And then Mahesh is saying Martin O'Neill was lucky in his first stint, should have lost a few that Celtic won. Andrew's saying Rangers, Aberdeen, Motherwell win those and we're still in it, lose any and we're playing for second.
Well, for me, the two league games coming up, Pittodrie and Ibrox, how we perform in those decides what happens this season. We win both of those, we're absolutely back in the title race. I'm pretty confident we can go all the way. We lose those, we're done. There's no coming back.
Yep, 100%. A message for Shane from my wife. Hi, Shane.
Hey.
And then she's like, do hope Rangers implode. There you go. So what we're looking at here, we'll use this. Mahesh's got my algorithm is predicting Hibs, Rangers, Motherwell all drop points. Scenarios only against Aberdeen, Celtic appears safe. So, and Robert Gibson saying the board is a season ticket money. They don't give a toss. Yeah, they don't about this season, but what it's going to be next season. Oh, good old Robert. We have to have a P. Diddy mention here and freak offs. Teams playing like they've been in the season-long P. Diddy freak off. I don't know. That was the... Nah, I'll stop. I'll stop myself.
Careful. I like doing this pod, so careful.
So Michael Ross asked his question, has O'Neill's magic worn off? And we'll go into that, Shane. We'll jump ahead again a little bit and then we'll get to the game. So I wanted to ask before, like, this formation didn't really work much this season under Brendan, right? With the form of the players winning everything, right? Then we went to something completely mental under Nancy. And now we're back to this formation again. And it worked for a bit. But as we went through those games, we weren't winning by a lot, but we're still getting 3 points. It has looked, to me, we have looked really brittle in the midfield.
Yep.
We look like we're always trying to looks like our game plan is let's just get the ball to the wing and just aimlessly cross it into the box. So get the ball to KT and he'll just whip something into the centre forwards. Or the other side, do the same thing. So for me, I'm looking at it going, we brought in a bunch of strikers. Our biggest strength in this team is our fullbacks. Maeder's out of form, so chuck him on the bench. The other wingers that we have could switch it. Do we go to a 4-4-2, an actual old school 4-4-2 with proper wingers who hug the sideline and whip those crosses in, have your fullbacks behind it, two number six, like two 6 and 8s in the middle there to actually steal up the middle of the park and put Junior and Kensvara on together up front and just have a lot of size and that in there and just bang it in, or even big Iheanacho, chuck him up front. You can rotate in. You've got three big centre forwards you can rotate. Do we go back to the future basically to improve the team? What do you think?
Well, one of the things we lauded Martin for when he came back on this season was essentially simplifying things, right? Actually taking things, pulling things back a little bit, making it less complex, going to a 4-4-2. Really, really going back old school wouldn't be something out of his remit. Totally, to be honest with you. I agree with your assessment of the midfield. The midfields look really poor in the last couple of weeks. It looked better against Killy in the second half because I think Martin made a tweak. So where we look really poor is when you've essentially got the 2 8s and the 1 6. I thought we looked at our best against Killy in the second half when Oxlade-Chamberlain came on and sort of more partnered Calmac, and you had almost a 2 6 with Negrin. Sometimes less is more, and we struggle when everything compact in front of us. And what that allowed us to do was we had Negrin, but there was space to play with. There was space to operate if there was space that Killy had to decide what they were going to do. And we didn't really do that against Hibs. Again, we had sort of Oxlade-Chamberlain sort of pushing too far forward. And in a game where they were sitting deep, spaces at a premium, we were struggling to break through. You're sort of condensing an area you're struggling to play through in. And to me, that didn't really ever get adjusted. So I don't mind the idea of playing two up top, but I'm not sure I'd go necessarily with Fenstrada and Iheanacho. I'd actually be looking almost at Negrin. Negrin finds a way to just get in the right spot and score, and he did again against Hibs, right? I wouldn't mind actually having a 4-4-2 or two up top where he's playing as this secondary striker because he just finds a way. And you know what? He can bury an opportunity, which is something we've really struggled with. You know, we've been profligate in front of goals outside of Negrin, and he's not exactly, well, you know, he's not exactly guilt free in that either. I wouldn't mind it. And the way we're playing at the moment, we are bypassing midfield a lot. You talked about this just before. We really are. We're sort of getting the ball up top to Vanchvara. And you saw it against Hibs, you know, sort of playing the log ball to him. He's sort of up against Bashiri. And it's, to me, I mean, I don't know. I didn't really study him before he signed, but it just doesn't really seem to be his game to be kind of this target man having to sort of hold up the ball physically and almost lay it off or try and swivel and get a shot off. He seems to be more of a player with a bit of energy that you sort of want running onto the ball kind of thing. And that's, remember when he sort of debuted against Hearts, his involvement in that goal where he's running onto that long ball and then crossing it in, right? So to answer your question properly, I don't know if I'd necessarily switch to a 4-4-2. I'm definitely open to playing two up top, but I think we definitely need to make some sort of tweaks in the midfield to either make sure we're creating space that is going to cause opposition teams trouble, or basically help the wide players, particularly our wingers, because they look really, really poor against Hibs.
Well, I was just going to go with something based on what you were saying, and then Andrew Galea beat me to it here in the comments. Play a 4-4-2 with a diamond midfield, Negrin at the top of the diamond. That way we can still have the two big strikers, Negrin off the back of them. Calmac can sit in his 6, and you got 2 8s there. Play next to him, whether it's a Rio, whether that's Oxlade-Chamberlain, whether that's Bernardo, whatever. You can rotate those guys through there. Our wing, like getting the ball wide and putting those crosses in anyway, is usually our fullbacks. It's usually Tierney or it's Arahel. So have one of them, and then all that means is who gets sacrificed from the team. Well, Maeda's out of form, get him on the bench. And on the other side, sorry, Yang, back to the bench you go.
Well, I think Mahesh makes a really good comment there. Not so much on Peter Grant's praising of the tactics, but I definitely felt against Hibs, particularly first half, they were way too slow to get the ball into the box. They were way too patient. And the build-up was just really static. So I didn't see them necessarily sort of crossing the ball to no one or crossing it aimlessly. I didn't see them actually get the ball into the box enough.
That's what I meant aimlessly. Like, are they aiming at anyone or are they just whacking a cross in?
Yeah, but I didn't see them actually. They were more inclined to sort of get into the wide areas and recycle it a little bit. It felt a little bit like Brendan Rodgers.
Yeah, I'm seeing it, Shane. Like this is the thing, right? I agree with what you're saying. If there's not a quick early cross in, then we just recycle it. But once we start recycling, then the defense is set, and then we just try to walk the ball into the net. So it's like, what are we doing? What's our actual game plan? Are we trying to go old school 4-4-2, get it to the byline, put the cross in, and just have two guys, one running near post, one running to the penalty spot? Are we looking at and someone goes to the back post? Are we looking at, trying to recycle? Who knows? Andrew's saying I would try Yang up front off that bench. We've got strikers now, play them. The other thing as well, like Nigrin, as Shane said, you could play him up front. So yeah, it'd be a bit of an interesting one. If we went to the diamond midfield, the options are you play Nigrin at the top of the diamond, and then when someone comes back from injury, it's the number 7 jersey at the top of the midfield diamond would be amazing too.
We definitely under Martin, we're playing less and less through the midfield and we're bypassing it more. That's very noticeable, particularly in comparison to Brendan. I'm not going to compare him to Nancy because nothing can really
Don't be
compare to
mean like
that.
that.
But we are genuinely bypassing the midfield, and the midfield has never looked so uninvolved, really. And this would hark back a little bit to Martin's time, previously seasons gone by at Celtic, where you didn't really have that kind of a tactical setup of having your sort of two holders. You'd have a midfield, you'd have a flat 4-4-2, right? And you try and get the ball forward as possible, let your big men go to work, lay it off, get your fullbacks up and overlapping. So there's a little bit of that kind of, I guess, parallel there as well. And you can see it. It's very noticeable. I thought the midfield probably got a little bit more involved in the second half than they have for a few weeks. But yeah, definitely first half, very much bypassing it, trying to get it up top to Vanchvara.
Yeah, so I'm just going to quickly look at something here. So our starting lineup, obviously, we all know what it was. It was Schmeichel, Rahaus, Scales, Trusty, Tierney, and then middle of the park was Calmac, Oxlade Chamberlain, and Nigrin, I believe, and then I don't know Hatat. Yeah, I can't figure this out. They got their numbers all backwards. Anyway, lineup was as we thought. Yeah, so Tenekti, Yang on the wings, Kansvara up front. There we go. Got it. Yeah, so it's but the thing for me, looking at their lineup, I didn't know that they had that McGrath was still playing there. So that was one thing. But the other one for me is like they got this player there that I'm pretty keen on. I actually think would be decent for us, and he didn't even play. Like what's his name? Mulligan. Is he still playing for them? I
Uh,
believe so. I'm just looking at their players.
he's out injured with an
Yeah.
ankle.
He was one I was looking. Josh Mulligan. He's one I would actually go Celtics sign him. Like he could fix a little bit of our midfield. But anyway, like going into the game, I thought we'd win. Shane, you just give us your rundown. You've given your rundown first half, second half, and everything. So yeah, anything you want to get into, particularly from the first or second half, or the goals, or should we jump into the fun stuff?
Oh, look, I think I've covered it all. Look, there were moments in the second half where we seemed to get our foot on the ball and had a couple of repeat opportunities, and we were sort of pegging them back a little bit. But that all diminished when the red card happened, and from there, the game very much evened out, and they started to be a bit more ambitious. Whereas we didn't see any of that in the first half. They sat back. We were too patient. The frustrating thing about the goal or their goal in the first half was the fact that they sort of broke forward, had an opportunity. And normally you see teams come to Celtic Park, they might have an opportunity, they might break, get one shot off, and then from there they sit back again. They actually didn't. They pushed up and they made sure that they looked for sort of winning the ball back high up the park, and they did. And that's what led to the second goal base, or their first goal, I should say. And that was really frustrating. I don't want to go too overboard with the criticism, but it genuinely feels like that kind of fear factor or concern about coming and facing us at Celtic Park is diminishing. They didn't look that worried. They didn't look concerned about playing us. They felt like if they stayed to their shape and stayed true to what they were trying to do, that they could get something from the game. It was very evident of that, and they did. So that aura we have, that's disappearing, and it's disappearing fast.
You know who I blame for that? Falkirk manager.
Oh, John McGinn.
Yep. And I also blame the St Mirren manager. Those two teams have proven you can come to Celtic Park, and if you don't sit back with 10 people behind the ball and actually play some football, you can get results, or at least have a fair dinkum crack at it. So I give those guys credit where it's due. And now you've got guys like Gray at Hibs looking at it going, we can take the fight to them. You got Hearts when they came to players. They weren't afraid to step out and play some football as well. So, and then Rangers will come and play as well. So it's one of them where, yeah, the fear factor's gone. Teams don't really see Parkhead as a fortress anymore. In what's happened to us in Europe over the last decade has now, seeped into the local league. So, a few key talking points from the game. VAR, Trusty, the red card. According to Sean, letter of the law, that is a penalty. That is a red card offence for violent conduct, right? How many times a week do you see that same interaction happen? The defender grabs a player, striker lashes and thumps down on their hand to get their hand off them so they can make a run. Yet this guy get whacked and he falls to the ground and milks it to get Trusty in trouble. I don't have a problem with him being sent off. Now precedent has been set. You've got to have to penalise and red card every other fucker who does that the rest of the season. Do I have faith that the Scottish referees will do that? Absolutely not.
I agree with you. I have no problem with him getting sent off. I also agree that we do see these kind of little scuffles in the box between the striker and defender each and every game. I don't know if I've ever seen a player so egregiously kind of just effectively strike an opponent's arm the way Trusty did. Like I've definitely seen push and shove, don't get me wrong, and things that look like it's sort of bubbling, but that seemed really unnecessarily aggressive and just stupid considering the ref is looking right at it. Now, you can make an argument that the ref has a clear view of that and is happy just saying that that's a scuffle and there's nothing more, and then VAR is effectively re-reffing the game by telling the ref, we think you've missed something that you've clearly looked at yourself from, only a couple of yards away and had clear line of sight. I think that's a fair debate here. But I looked at that footage, right? And I'm going to harp on about VAR and refs all you want, but I looked at that footage and thought, no, he's getting sent for that, and he's rightfully getting sent for that. And it was just incredibly stupid. It's at a moment in the game where we're pressing. All you need to do is keep your head. He looked like he was letting out frustration to me. That looked like a player who was getting frustrated at the situation. I don't know what specifically, and just lashed out unnecessarily. He'd lost his head for a moment. Just stupid.
Well, on that, Shane, dumb move from him. I'm not justifying what he did. But the thing for me is, and this is something goes back to me growing up playing basketball. You're always told, don't react, because the referee will always notice the reaction, not that. So you're constantly getting hit, you're getting bumped, you're getting pushed, whatever. But if you were to turn around and give someone a cheeky elbow or the ribs or something like that, you're the one who's going to get caught, not them. And we see it all the time. And I put this back to the Antonio Conte Juventus level team from way back in the day in the Champions League, where they would wrap their hands around our players like that and not be holding it, touching us, but have their hands around us. And if we run into it, we're the ones initiating contact. these dark arts are constantly coming into the game more and more and more, and the attacking players are getting frustrated because the defensive players are getting away with it because all the ref does is warn someone or comes and gets in their face and goes, "No more," and then tells them to separate. And then 2 seconds later, they're back next to each other, hanging on to each other again. The defender's grabbing the attacker again. It's
Look,
ridiculous.
all of
Like,
that's true. I agree with you wholeheartedly, but Trusty's got to keep his head there. There's a million and well, maybe not in the Scottish Premiership, but there's a million and one cameras that are going to pick up what you do. He has to be much more aware of his actions in that moment. Like I agree with one of the comments. Like you'd give him the red for stupidity.
yeah, I was getting there, Shane. I was in the middle of a rant. I was taking over your territory there. The thing is, right, and what I'm getting at is, yes, Trusty should have got red carded, 100%. No thing. It was a dumb decision. And now he's got himself in trouble because it'll be violent conduct. It'll be a minimum 2-game ban. What's that rule him out of? Ibrox.
And the must-win fixture at Pataudry as well.
Exactly. So, with me, I'm looking at going, the referees, you know that they're looking for any excuse to stitch up Celtic. You got to keep your head. But at the same time, if I was Celtic, I'd be going and appealing that on the simple fact that I reckon if you've got this media department at the club with 30 people in it, I'm sure if every single one of them chipped in 2 hours here, you could watch every game for the season in about pretty much in the space of 3 or 4 days. And guess what? You could suddenly find at least another 13, 14 incidents like that this season that were just a talking to, not even a free kick, and go, why is this one a red card, but none of these are? And get it downgraded so it's just a straight red instead of the violent conduct 2-game. So then you get him back for Aberdeen. You're still going to miss the derby. But just throwing that there.
It'll be interesting to see
Andrew,
if they do appeal. Sorry, just to wrap that up. It'll be interesting to see if they do appeal. I'd be surprised if they do. I
yeah,
really would. But it'd be interesting to see what they actually decide in that space.
what's the worst that can happen? You appeal it. They do an urgent one that gets in this week, so he's guaranteed to miss the derby. If you appeal it and they can't view it until next week, like Monday or Tuesday, what does that mean? Come
He's
on,
thinking.
Shane.
He's thinking.
Andrew Goulet's got the thing. He should have just gone the nipple grip, and the prick would have let go. Ross is saying Trusty was an idiot. Hammer fisting down on an opponent's arm from is the height of stupidity. Stupidity alone's worth a red card. Robert Gibson saying Trusty might as well have punched the lights out and made it worthwhile. Exactly.
Well, if you're going to get sent off for violent conduct,
You
not
may
that
as,
I'm advocating violence or anything like that,
you
but
may as well clatter someone. Yeah, so that's the Trusty situation. Now the VAR situation. Apparently, there was. This is from me reading our group chat, the fan media one, Axom, and like 3 other ones I'm in. There was apparently 4 penalty shouts that we didn't get during this game. I can remember 2. One I think should have been, which was when Scales got tackled to the ground. That should have been looked at. There was another one that said it was outside the box, but it looked touch and go on if it was in. But the others, I don't know. But yeah, if you're going to re-referee the game with the whole Trusty situation, then you got to look at it the other way as well with the penalties, because apparently we had a lack of penalties. We should have had 3 or 4. I'm only saying it because there's a certain team that wears blue across the city who automatically, like clockwork, gets penalties. So what's going on?
the other two, I think the comments are referring to are probably the Fanchvara sort of first half where he was sort of getting the ball played into him and he's sort of holding Bashiri and he's sort of facing away from goal and Bashiri sort of dragging him down. It's sort of debatable whether sort of Bashir is dragging him down or he's pushing himself. There's definitely one that I think could have been looked at, but look, those was kind of, to use an old football terminology, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other for me. That was kind of a mixed bag. The Scales one is absolutely a clear-cut pen. It's actually embarrassing that VAR doesn't get the ref to go and look at that. It's a clear pen. He's holding him. He impacts his ability to get to the ball at a corner. It couldn't have been any more clear cut. I can't understand how someone could look at that on footage and go, "I'm satisfied the ref has not missed something there." It was actually laughable.
Clear and obvious error. That's all VAR is there to technically be looking at. Did the referee view something and make a decision? And was it a clear and obvious error? And if you look at the trusty situation, as we're saying, the ref's looking right at it. He's made a decision not to blow his whistle. Was that clear and obvious error that the VAR had to get involved? Yeah, probably. He's pretty much punched a guy on the arm, right? So, all things considered, yeah. But for the Scales penalty, it was clear and obvious. Andrew Galea is saying the Scales one was very quick in real time. None of us called it.
No,
I
I'm
called
going to disagree. I saw that live and thought, no, he's pulled him back.
I'm like,
Like,
that's a pen.
yeah, I had a look at that and thought, no, that's a clear pen. And I was just waiting for VR to kick in.
I think Robert Gibson's figured it out, right? The VAR had gone for a sly ciggy when Scales was brought down. That's the only obvious explanation.
Cheeky little durry.
Gone for a dart. Punching darts and breaking hearts. That's what the VAR was doing at the time.
There's a couple of real Australianisms there for our international audience.
So, yeah, basically we've got that there. So, any other talking points from the game, Shane, you want to go on about? Otherwise, do you want to give man of the match, donkey of the day? You got one of each.
Look, our fullbacks were our two best players, either Tierney or Arojo. I loved Arojo's game actually. I thought he just works his socks off. There are a couple of moments where he won the ball back high up the park, just high energy football, the kind of stuff that I would have loved to have seen as a fullback under Ange. To be honest with you, I thought he was tremendous and put in an absolute shift too. Like he was literally almost carrying the team at one stage. I thought, and Tierney was very good. In terms of donkey, Jesus, you could throw a blanket over a couple of them to use another terminology. I mean, I could really give it to Trusty for that fucking brain dead red card. Yang was poor. Yang was really poor, actually.
Can I give my one out?
Yeah, go for it.
Our captain was an empty jersey. I didn't see much leadership from him. The ball didn't come to him. So what was he doing out there? When the game got away from us, you need your leaders to step up. What's Casper doing? What's Kalmack doing? Who's your other leaders in the team?
I didn't like Kalmack's game. I don't think I'd put him as the worst though. I think for me, I'm probably going to go Trusty because that red card was just horrendous and it's hard to look past. It'd be Yang second. Yang just offered nothing really. And every time he sort of got on the ball, I mean, one of his shots almost went out for a throw. That's how bad a game he had. But yeah, I'd be giving it to Trusty just for that mistake alone.
Yeah, let's yeah, we'll leave that there. I think it's the easiest way. So, Andrew Galeas, did you two get to Amy Park at least? See the master in action?
No, I didn't. It was a City home game, so I decided to stay home and watch it on the big screen instead. And boy, did I enjoy it.
Yep. It was great. I didn't want to deal with those giving him money to that oil club basically.
They also charge like a wounded bull as well for
Oh
away
yeah.
fans at the moment, which is ridiculous because we did look at
$45
going.
or something.
Yeah, we did look at going, and they just jack up the prices to try and limit the away fans. But one mutter, and I said this in our group chat, and shout out to Jared who'd said it before me. I feel like I stole his comment, but one mutter could genuinely get a spot in the Celtic midfield at the moment. He is on top form. He's easily the best player in the A League at the moment, and he's running the show for victory, and he could easily slot into the Celtic midfield.
Fine, Shane. I got one for you. Donkey of the day is Daniel Arzani playing for City. The guy's back to his diving ways. There you go.
Yep, him and Teague had absolutely no impact on the game.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll get into the couple of things from the fan collective situation, right? So some interesting stuff, right? So we know there was like a meeting last week between the fans collective and Brian Wilson, and in an ideal world, things would come out quicker. But you got to get through the whole process of renewing, reviewing the notes that were taken, get your you know signatories, get that, and then get the minutes out. Celtic still haven't put their minutes out. The collective did the next day. So they put up a tweet saying a full summary of Wednesday's meeting with Celtic FC was sent to signatories yesterday. Comprehensive minutes will follow as soon as possible. This person, No Pasaran, is saying, unfortunately, transparency doesn't seem to suit the collective. Why has it taken so long to get information out? You've allowed a mealy mouthed Ed Tory to get ahead of the game. You owe it to the supporters to tell us what the fuck, if anything, is going on. And then you've got Jeanette Finley, who is like one of the leaders, pretty high up in the collective, from involved in the Celtic Trust. The one person that I did not really, once I found out she was involved, I'm like, do I want Celtic Down Under to be a signatory for this or not? Was because of her. She's responded with this tweet: "We owe you fuck all. We are fans with jobs, wins, families, and we keep going. Join in and help or fuck up." Well, that's going to drive people away from your collective thoughts and what you're trying to do, isn't it?
Yep.
So, yeah, she's a absolute bit of a numpty. And then at the same time, there was a photo on up on game day. A few people from a few Celtic. So this person on what is it, Celtic 365 bought and sold 4 Celtic fan media influencers overdose on prawn sandwiches. So saying across Celtic, Axom, the Celtic Way, Seltzer here, and Celtic World Order. These guys were invited by David Lowe to his own personal box that he's paid for to come and enjoy a game from the Celtic Supporters Limited. These people are copping an absolute hiding online because they had the nerve to go to a football game, yet they shouldn't be there because not another penny, yet these guys can go into a box. It doesn't matter if the box sits empty or not. The club's already got their money for it. Let these guys go and network with someone who could potentially, was involved with Fergus back in the day and could potentially help swing things to get this board out the club. But God, put that to the side. It's doing my head in. Like, just the whole collective thing at the moment, I think is an absolute. It's not what I thought it would be, and there's a lot of people who seem to think, who are reeking of self-importance, and they want to do their thing and get their comments out rather than putting their egos to the side and going, okay, you guys, like Paul at Axom, he is really good at that media and interviewing and all that sort of stuff. So let's get him to use the best skills he can bring to the table to do that. Let's get the people at the trust who are good at setting up like the paperwork stuff. Let's get them to set things up. At the moment, it seems like it's all over the place. It's a great idea pulling everyone together, but as Rossi is saying, is the collective is the right idea, but being headed by the wrong people. If you want unity, you can't have people who are divisive at the front. And it's not just that. It's like what, like they've got 3 key points that we're working towards, but you need to have a leader, someone to drive the direction people can get behind. People have issues with the Green Brigade. People have issues with the Celtic Trust. I'm one of them. People have issues with fan media. People have issues with being told how to support their team and what to do. Hold up this banner, throw this ball on the ground. That sort of stuff. There's all sorts of issues going on, right? So I just look at it and go, I just think it's frustrating. And I think the board's playing an absolute blinder here with the whole divide and conquer tactics towards the collective with Brian Wilson. He tried to meet with individual people, individual groups. So he tried to meet with the Celtic Association of CSCs has pulled out of the collective. Axom's out of there. There's a few others. It's the right idea, but it just needs to change. So I just think the divide and conquer from the club, the way they're playing it, is an absolute blinder.
Well, I think you've touched on the key point. Now, I'm not anywhere near across this as you are, and others in our Celtic Down Under group are. I take a little bit of a step back on all of this, and you guys are well and truly more involved in that space and have a better understanding of it than I have. And I wasn't even across sort of the tweet you were referring to or anything like that just earlier. But I will say, having heard it first time, when you're in a position where you want people to get behind your cause and cause for change, and be together as a collective, as a group that is going to stand up as one, you can't be sort of firing off or firing back like that, irrespective of whether you want to. And in some regards, the tweet may be right. People have lives. People have to live their day by day lives. They might be doing this out of the good of their heart, but and they feel the pressure too. Absolutely understand, but you can't you can't take that tone with people, because it is going to put people offside, and you need people to get involved in your cause and your collective to be able to bring about that change. And all that's going to do is either push people away who are already involved and key supporters, or it's going to keep people who are on the fringes further away instead of actually getting behind what you're trying to do. So that's really frustrating to hear that that's taken place, because I can only imagine a few people, or how many people have probably come across that and said, "Okay, I'm not involved now," or "No, this isn't part of it." And you're right, the dividedness of this as an overall thing really diminishes the end ideal of what we're trying to reach here, right? So I agree with you. I think the only people who've won out of this are the board, who look at this and see a group and groups together starting to splinter and effectively eat each other and turn on each other. And that's exactly what they want, because if everyone splinters like this and there's no strong faction, um, it's far easier to curtail that movement.
I actually said in the chat, I'm in the fan media chat and everything, Shane, that realistically, the collective need to take a step back for the next couple of weeks. Brian Wilson said he's going to come back to him within the month for the next meeting. I think what they need to do is take that step back, let the two derby games come through. If we win, then that's just bought time for Celtic to set up the next meetings and follow through, and we can actually apply the blowtorch a bit there. If we lose both the derby games, then the collective won't have to do shit for the rest of the season. That stadium's going to empty, and people are going to turn on the club from off their own bat. Going to turn on them. So it's a bit of an interesting one to see how it all plays out. But yeah, I just want what's best for Celtic. I want us to modernise. I want us to improve the stadium because it's fallen apart in places. I want better players on the pitch. I want an actual progressive structure at the club with director of football and everything else, and quality recruitment and pathways for juniors to actually come through. I want all of that. Like, is it? It's not wrong to want as much as possible for the club that you love. I don't get
Oh,
up at
not at
bloody
all.
2 a.m. I have 2 hours sleep, get up, watch a game, go to bed for 2 hours and be absolutely written off like this on a Monday at work because I don't love the club. So, and there's heaps of people over this side of the world, America, all throughout Asia, same deal, right? So, yeah, it's a bit of an interesting one, but I'll just get some comments up here about this. So, McLaughlin's saying it was the right idea about the collective. It's a shame they're coming across as thugs, though. Um, Ross is saying the club haven't had to do too much to cause division. The fact that if you want the masses to stand behind your cause, keep the cause simple and you make sure the figureheads are calm and measured. Exactly.
Leadership.
And then Ross is also saying Paul T of the collective is about the only person who I've seen speak who I think is really level headed in his approach. I'm just trying to figure out which one it is. One of the guys who was in that photo. Yeah, from Celtic World Order as well. He's pretty switched on as well. But yeah, it's anyway, see what happens. But as Ross is saying, yeah, right now it's settled for us just showing that we have a plan and a vision and what we want to be. But they won't even give us that. They don't even have a vision. I think they need Fred Hollows to go see and the board members. Probably got cataracts. There you go. There's one for you.
There's another good Australian reference. Wonderful, wonderful man, Fred Hollows. If you haven't
Yep,
heard of him, check him out.
legend. So anyway, Shane, we'll leave that one there. We'll get into the upcoming Europa League game. We've spoken about it earlier in Stuttgart. So the usual questions I ask: what are your thoughts heading into the game? What are the key areas of focus for us to win the game? What's your expected lineup and the score prediction? They're my usual questions. Now, I'm gonna go this way. What are my general thoughts heading into the game? It's done. It's over. Just put us out of our misery, all right? Key areas for us to win the game. Let's just say Stuttgart's whole first team have to get gastro the night before the game. That's the key focus for us to win the game. Someone has to give them, eat some bad curry or something. A predicting starting lineup, who cares? Score prediction, we're getting pumped. What do you think?
The key thing for me, and I don't like ever going into a game where it's pretty much a fait accompli. The defeat is guaranteed. But we're not winning this tie, right? Right now, our most pressing situation is getting back on track in the league. So, what can we do in this game that's going to help us get back on track in the league? So, as frustrating as sad as it is, I'm looking to see the lineup we put out to see who's going to be fresh for Ibrox. I'm looking at the way we're going to play. I'm looking at the style that we play with and who's exerting energy basically to say, right, they're probably maybe not playing at a level so that they're going to be ready for Ibrox. That's what I'm looking at because this tie's gone. This tie was gone as soon as they went 3-1 up. There's no way back for us. We've just got to look at prioritizing what we can do to get out of there without getting any injuries or any significant kind of players that we need for Ibrox being fatigued and coming back and winning on Sunday. That's pretty much it. That's what I'm looking at. That's it.
Yep, 100%. So, I'm going to bring out some comments. Andrew Glau, we're so far removed from it's all over here. Hard to know where it's going. And McLaughlin's finished that up saying, well, it's only going one way, Andrew. And that is down the sewers. Ross is saying if we keep it under 3, that'll be a result. And Robert is saying we are getting smashed 7-1 care factor. Fuck all.
I don't want us to get smashed. I really don't, and I hate the idea of it happening. But the simple fact is, if we're prioritizing the league, it's every chance to happen.
Yep, 100%. So what we'll do, Shane, is obviously we've got the Huns on the weekend. Really simple. Get the bloody job done, Celtic. Show us there's some fight in the old dog. That's all I got to say. Yeah, we'll see how that all plays out on the weekend, obviously. But yeah, it's too early to do score predictions and starting lineups and all that. So we'll just leave it there. What we'll do is we'll go to our final thoughts. Now, I'll go with mine first, and then I'll let you finish off for once. So instead of it always ending with like you going first, Shane. So I got a bit of a yarn for you. My final thought was I'm driving home from work today, right? And there's this bus right next to me. And there's this idiot in a 4-wheel drive right on the back bumper. No shit, probably like a foot off the back of the bumper of the bus. The bus jumps on its brakes to pull over. The guy swerves, misses the bus somehow, is probably 2 inches from hitting the front of my car as he's cut me off. I give him a good toot. The passenger in the car sticks the hand out the window and flips off the bus driver. Now, I had to set that up for context, right? Because the best thing, and this is where I get into it, is All of a sudden, those red and blue lights start flashing from an unmarked cop car 3 cars behind me. And it's fanged out and it's pulled that car up. I went to traffic lights at a red light and they've gone through and they got pulled up on the other side of the intersection. And the cops went to the driver and he's getting breath tested on the other side. The other guy who flipped off the bus driver, he's getting all sorts of getting a ticket and getting all sorts, right? So my final thought is to those fuckwits, suffer in your jocks. You got what you deserved.
I feel like I can't top this. I feel like I've been set up to fail. It's always music recommendations. How can I possibly top that fun anecdote?
Come on, Shane, get in with it.
All right, so music recommendation then. Australian band, Australian album from the late 90s. The band is called the Super Jesus. The album is Sumo. It's a really, really good Australian album, fronted by Sarah McLeod. She's got wonderful voice. Genuinely a really good hard rock album. So definitely more of your hard rock than your sort of regular rock. But give it a listen. It is genuinely a good record.
Super Jesus are absolute ripper. Great band. So I second that. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Appreciate it. Yeah, let's see how we go on Thursday/Friday for us. And until then, have a great week ahead and hail, hail.
How?